myself right up on out of here. I feel like a disgrace, I'm not really what I appear. I go home to my girl and I make nice seem nice. The fact that she don't know that I just put someone on. I don't like being here. I constantly live in fear. Could be gone at any time. When you live a life of crime, you have to face the music through the time. I'm trapped again, and fate as always hasn't arrived again. I always get caught in my life of sin, but I just keep on going back again. You know I'm lost again, when all I wanted was to find a friend, someone that I can always depend on to help me find my life again. You know I'm trapped again.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Mayhemtainment, episode 38, the Diamond Exchange. Right, so most of you are probably wondering why I'm sat in the host chair and not the owner, JD. Now, here's the thing. JD is a fan of media transparency, but unfortunately he cannot, for personal reasons, stand my guest for this evening. But before we bring on my guest for this evening, we have to go over the shout-outs. So first of all, Marcus Frederiksen for the music, but also Mayhem Media on Facebook, YouTube and Rumble, as well as myself on Facebook, Clarkson Wrestler, Instagram at Connor.Clarkson2024, and as well on TikTok, Connor.Clark632, as well as our partner, Joe Monroe, at the Joe Monroe Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for me to bring on my guest this evening. He is someone that is very known. He is the guru of greatness, the shaman of superiority, the reflection of perfection, the superior to the inferior, the apex of excellence, the consequence-inducing king. He is what every man dreams to be, and then some. Every man wants to be him. Women want to be with him. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you at this time, Mr. Austin Diamond. Austin, how are you doing, sir?
I am living the dream, Connor. Now let's just cut right to the chase here. You gracefully stumbled through all of my lovely monikers, and I appreciate that. I really do. But that kind of makes me wonder, Connor, because it is more than apparent that you know who I am, and I say this with the utmost respect, or at least that is the intention here. But I wonder what's going through your head as you have the audacity to name drop Joe Monroe on my airtime, because I'll tell you the truth, I don't appreciate that. Regardless of whose show this is my time, and I don't really cotton to that. I don't think that's really right. You know why I'm here, Connor. Everybody knows who I am, why I'm here. Everybody knows that Joe Monroe and I don't really see eye to eye, so I don't understand why you think it's acceptable that we're gonna sit here and we're gonna help him out and get him some viewers. Well, this isn't about Joe Monroe. This is about Austin Diamond. This is about a man. You see, this is about a guy who is willing to stand up and fight at any means necessary, at any time, any place, any location. Not like Joe Monroe.
So, just to briefly point on what you said, you are a guest on this podcast, right?
Oh.
You are a guest, right? Here's the thing. You are a guest. Joe, whether you like him or you don't like him, is part of this company. So he will still get recognition whether you like him or you don't. So moving on from that point, what I first want to say is I've heard a lot about yourself and your career. So let's just cut to the chase. How did you get into the crazy, crazy world of professional wrestling?
Well, where do we start? Do we start with Scott Diamond tearing up other men in the Marine Corps back in the 80s? Do we start maybe closer to the early 2010s when Austin Diamond began running roads, tearing down the ring, doing all of that fun stuff? I was packing turnbuckles and ring ropes when I was knee high to a grasshopper. A lot of these cats, they have a lot of audacity. They have a lot of misinformed opinions. And they seem to think that Austin Diamond just walked on the scene and I got everything handed to me. Well, this is news to me because I've spent over the last decade eating out of gas stations for Thanksgiving, Christmas. Pops, growing up, he wasn't there for Christmas. We did Christmas in the morning so that he could be on the road that night. I would love nothing more than to hear all of these inbred hillbillies tell me some more about my silver spoon, about how I was handed everything from the time that I popped out of my mother to now. I would love nothing more than to hear these uneducated swine continue to air out their uneducated opinions, Connor. Maybe I should move on a little further in, my chronological story here. Maybe I should talk about August 20th of 2021, when there was an opportunity and somebody had to rise to the occasion because there was nobody else to fill that spot. And I said, hey, I'll take care of it. And I became the liaison between the men in the back and the people sitting in the stands. Maybe we should talk about that, or maybe we should move on to July 9th, 2022, the night where I tore my meniscus and my MCL in my first match, and then still continued to not only fight throughout the rest of that match, but also to win that match. Maybe we should talk about that. What do you think, Connor? Where would you like to start in this story? Take your pick.
I mean, there are a lot of people within the Mayhem brand, especially on the media channels, that know of you but don't quite know you. So let's just start from the complete beginning.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Growing up, I think it's no secret that the Diamond name has held a lot of value in my life. I don't know what would give anybody that inclination. I have no idea what that could be, but I think it's no secret that the Diamond name carries a lot of weight. I know that the big ticket knows all about the Diamond name. I know that cats like Austin Michaels know all about the Diamond name. You see, a lot of, I hate to dwell on Joe Monroe, but let's just put it where it's at. That's the elephant in the room. A lot of people that he's very closely affiliated with throughout his career, they know all about me. So it's really a mystery to me how it is that Joe Monroe has remained so ignorant. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to give him any more attention than I feel is necessary. Growing up, we were running roads together. Of course, I was really, really young. I was too young to really understand everything that was going on. But with time, I became very eloquent with my words. I became very well spoken, as I'm sure you've noticed. I learned to dress the part. As a young man, there was a cat by the name of Brad Riley who saw me. He knew nothing of my father. He saw me personally. I was maybe 5 years old. And I was dressed to the nines, as I always am. And he walks up to a young Austin Diamond and he says, hey, can I take a picture of you? And there it began, and it never stopped. Still to this day, it doesn't matter if I'm grocery shopping, if I'm out with my family, if I'm trying to put gas in my car, there is nowhere Austin Diamond can go without signing an autograph, taking a picture, something. My knee never healed. I was on crutches for 6 weeks, and I'm still greatly affected by that. Not just because of the match, but because I'm fighting through a sea of women every day just to get from place to place. Do you have any further questions that I can touch on here for you, Connor? Please.
See, now you're fighting off a sea of women, as you put it. How do you cope doing that? How does one of your status parade themselves through a sea of women without getting, let's say, kidnapped?
Well, it's really simple, Connor. I tell one of them that I love them, and then they start fighting for me. And by the end of the night, I'll have her blocked, and that's that. It's a spectacle. You should be there in person to witness it one day.
Yes, I really should be there in person. Hopefully sometime soon. Time will tell. But you've stated on how you got involved in the business as a young kid flying off the back of Scott Diamond.
Absolutely.
So, talk us through that first moment when you realized you was getting booked for your first match. Talk us through what was going through your head when you found out that you was going to make your debut in the squared circle.
Well, man, what a loaded question. Because where do you start? There's so many thoughts. It's not just one. It's an abundance of thoughts, really. You're almost drowning in your own thoughts. I had already been having some issues with my knee. And as a matter of fact, I had a doctor's appointment scheduled 2 days prior to my first match for my knee. And naturally, as any man would, I opted out of that because I was not about to be told that I could not partake in such a historical event, because it means so much, not only to me, not only to the business, not only to the people around me, but to the people that were going to be paying to see me that night. Let's put it where it's at. I am a star. I am an attraction. I am everything that you could ever aspire to be, and then some. Men want to be me, women want to see me, and I just want to see a mirror. How you doing? It's that simple. I have people all over. I've got women in New York in my phone. I've got women in Pennsylvania in my phone. There are people who are going over to Europe, throwing up the diamond, wearing our merch. It's everywhere, brother. It is everywhere, and it's because of hard work. It's because of dedication. It's because willingness to do whatever it takes, no matter how popular it is or is not. Brother, you can't just go out there and play by the rules and hope that everything goes well. If you just go out there and play star, everybody's going to eat you alive. You do not get to be a weekend warrior. You do not get to be a Saturday night superstar and be somebody. If you want to be somebody, it has to be 24 hours out of the day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And that is the life of a diamond. That is what it means to be cold-blooded. And that is why diamonds are forever.
So what you're saying is, even though you've only been doing this for, correct me if I'm wrong, but say 2-3 years was...
I will have been an active competitor in 2 years come July.
2 years come July. So within that 2 years of being an active competitor, as it were, what you're saying is you are already a well-established name and a well-established brand.
Absolutely. You know, I choose to make appearances on a regular basis. But the truth is, I could do the Santa Claus schedule. I could one day a year this, and everybody would gather around to see what I brought to the table. Because Austin Diamond is that big of a star. You know, they say the sky is the limit. But I prove that to be false too, because I am a star. I am something that everybody looks up to. And Connor, you know, a lot of people say, I'm the best in the world. A lot of people are quick to say that they are the baddest man on the planet. But you know what? Accusations this and accusations that. At some point, you've got to step up to the plate and prove it. Look around, brother. A lot of people say a lot of things, but there's only one that can be the best. And I look at him every time I look in a mirror.
So you pride yourself on being the best that you physically can be to reach that top level of greatness.
Absolutely. I stand at 6'2", 205 pounds. And you know what? I'm not the biggest guy by any means. You know what? There was a time in my life where a gust of wind was my biggest opposition. But the truth of the matter is this. I have fought tooth and nail to get where I'm at. And there is nobody that's going to knock me off of my pedestal.
Right, so you've definitely had to work your way through the hoops, jump through the hoops, swim through the ponds, and get to where you are today. So as much as everyone claims that you have, hang on, we've just got a comment from the Joe Monroe show. Hold up, Connor, this is Dave. I have some breaking news for everyone here. Dave, please be quick. What is this breaking news? But until he waits to tell us the breaking news, you have done the complete opposite of what everyone thinks you have done. You have not been there getting fed on that silver spoon and drinking out of the silver cup because you are related to the four-time Hall of Fame, Scott Diamond, which for himself being the four-time Hall of Fame is an incredible achievement, and that is not to be understated. But you have definitely done the opposite of what people think, and you have gone out and earned your spot rather than being given everything.
That's absolutely correct. You know, I didn't get to be one of those guys that paid my $25 to the athletic commission and then started calling myself a wrestler. That's easy. Anybody can do that, Connor. Anybody. Even Joe Monroe can do that, but, we won't dwell on that. I didn't get to be one of those guys that cashed the check, started forking out dollar bills. Hey, brother, I'll tell you what, man, if you train me, I'll be the biggest star that this company has ever seen. I didn't get to do that. Oh, no. No, see, I had to grow up being a diamond, and you will never know the challenges that come with that. Because, you see, it's not just having big shoes to fill. Rather, it's having ruts at the bottom of your feet, at the top of the mountain. How, Connor, do you start at the top of the mountain and still amount to something in your own right? You will never know what that's like. Nobody can ever compare to that. Nobody understands what it's like unless they've done it. And there's nobody else in this world that has competed with that in the way that I have. Because you know what? It's quick and easy to burn out. Anybody can do it. Anybody can be a flash in the pan. One Instagram post away from greatness. And 15 seconds later, they're forgotten about. But you know what isn't easy? Consistency. It's not easy to have everybody look at you and tell you that you're never going to be anything more than somebody else's son. It's not easy to have somebody look at you and discredit every achievement you've ever made and say, oh, well, it must be nice getting all those handouts, knowing damn well you haven't slept in days, knowing damn well that you've put hundreds upon hundreds of miles on the road, knowing damn well that you've got another 23 hours on the road the next day. 3 stops in 23 hours I did because you want to know why, Connor? Because I had places to be and people to see. I went from my home, okay, you following me here, right? I want to make sure I don't lose you. I left my home at 5 a.m., went all the way to Oklahoma, 3 stops, nothing more than gas and food, and came straight back because that's the life of a superstar. I don't have time to rest because when your name is Austin Diamond, you know what happens? You're wanted everywhere, all the time. And you know what? You are looked at as this all-holy being. People come to you to solve every problem they could ever fathom. Okay? And that's a great feeling because in some ways you're a hero, but then they lose sight of what you're really doing for them. And then they begin to question your safety blanket. Well, let me tell you this. If I'm out here bringing views, if I'm out here bringing numbers, bringing gold, bringing cash everywhere I go, okay, because I am that big of a star, then who is anybody to question the methods in which I have to use to bring that safety blanket? Austin Diamond is good for business. It doesn't matter if you're selling popcorn. It doesn't matter if you're selling insurance, if you're selling homes. If I so much as knock on your door, I just raised your property value 10% because I am that good. Nobody can compare to me, Connor. Tell me one person that has that effect like I do.
I mean, obviously, I'm in the UK, you're in the US. I don't know as many indie people for you as, same if you was to like comment on our indie people. I don't really know your indie scene, so I can't really comment. But me personally, and you personally, like, it would be amazing to see what me and you could do. But that's a separate conversation for another time. Now, Dave has just given us the announcement, so let me just show this here. I have an announcement. Joe has found someone to host this match, and I quote, that silver spoon little SOB thinks he's man enough to accept. My apologies for the interruption. Dave, apology accepted, and don't worry, I will not shoot the messenger. Now, do you have any quick comment on that, Austin?
What did I just tell you, Connor? Austin Diamond is good for business. It doesn't matter if I'm going to the ring to do an execution, if I'm going to the ring for nothing more than to strip my clothes off for all of the women in attendance. I am good for business. It's no surprise to me that somebody saw what I've got going on here after I made Joe Monroe relevant, after I cleared 1 million views with him on screen. That's one of my biggest regrets. I am suffering from my own success. I pulled him over 1 million views, okay, back in August. This has been almost a year ago now. Cleared 1 million views, 7 digits, because I'm Austin Diamond, and he hasn't left my side since. He's something of a hemorrhoid, really, a dingleberry. You just can't seem to shake him. You know, you acknowledge him once, and then you can't forget that he's there. And, you know, maybe he thinks he's got me right now. But let's put it where it's at, Connor. Who really facilitated all of this? He came to see me, just like everybody else I just described. He came to see me at that podcast, and then, well, we all know what happened next. He went into hiding, and I did what I do best. I got under his skin. I get under everybody's skin. I hear it all the time. I've got people that I've never met in my life that hate my guts. I can walk into a place, see all these unfamiliar faces. I won't know anybody in the room, but everybody there will know me. And half of them, at the very least, will be hoping that I die. Do you know what it's like to walk into a room and have people that legitimately just hate your guts when they've never spoken a word to you, Connor? Because it's almost repulsive, really. Here I am, a young man, enjoying the fruits of my labor, and I've got people that are hoping to see me perish because of it. So you know what? I capitalized on that. These people, they call me all these terrible names. You know, they tell me that I'm the worst thing to ever walk the face of this earth. They tell me that I'm a loose cannon. They tell me that I'm out of control. Well, let me show you just how out of control I can be. Because if I'm going to be known as a loose cannon, let me tell you something. I am the ammunition necessary for any good fire, brother, because I'm a heat magnet. I am the heavy artillery. I am Austin Diamond, the guru of greatness, the shaman of superiority, and the apex of excellence. I am the reflection of perfection, the consequence-inducing king, the prince of perpetual pain, pleasure, and alliteration, Daddy. Let me tell you, the hometown hero, local legend, and independent icon, self-made. It gets no realer than this. It is of no surprise to me that somebody saw what I've got going on and said, I want a piece of that, because it's money. Everywhere I go, it's money. You see, I'm not just following in Scott Diamond's footsteps. I'm a trailblazer in my own right. I'm doing some things that he'd have never thought about doing, and that's not a knock to Pops, because he did damn fine for himself. He fed my family for as long as I've been around, and then some. He's been knocking them dead since the 80s, brother. He's done it all, everywhere, all the way down from Georgia, the Carolinas, all over the world, brother. Scott Diamond is a bad, bad man, and he taught me exactly what it means to be a man. I've taken hits, brother. I walked around. You know what it's like as a young man going through school with a boot print on your chin for weeks? How do you explain that one away, Connor? You don't. But you know what? You make do. You do whatever it is that you got to do to get your foot in the door, because that's how stars are made. Perspective is everything in this world. I want you to sit and ponder for just a second. Let's go back to the term out of control, okay? Out of control, says the man who's pulling the strings. But if you're the mouse that's supposed to be running for the cheese, you're not out of control at all. You're liberated. I want you to think about that for just a second, Connor. You know what? When you're at the bottom and everybody is hoping to see you stop right there, you know what your efforts are? They're useless. They're good for nothing. You're hard-headed, you're stubborn, and you just don't know when to quit. But when after all this time, you rise up and you're shining bright like the diamond you are, all of a sudden, you're persistent, you're determined, and you're a star. It's funny, man. As soon as you make it big, you've got all these cousins you never knew you had. As soon as you make it big, everybody went to grade school with you, and they're just so happy to see you doing well. But when you were there with them, and you were saying that you were going to be a star, and you were telling them that you were walking red carpets as a young man, when you were telling them that you saw yourself on the big screen, they're telling you that you're full of yourself. They're telling you that you're a liar, and they're telling you that you'll never make it. That's what it takes to be a star. You've got to be able to take all of that, and you've got to be able to chew it up and to turn it into something more. And that's something that not everybody has the guts to do.
This is very true. Now, you talk about people hating you and people actually liking you, and a man that I believe you know by the name of Johnny Suede has been commenting several times saying that Austin Diamond is great for business, period. I've known the Diamond family for years. Austin Diamond is speaking the truth. Now, it's great that you have those fans, but you also have your haters. Now, speaking of haters, there was an attack recently, wasn't there? There was an attack recently at a show that I believe you attended, and so did Mr. Scott Diamond. Could you please tell us what all of that was about?
What is there to say? Please tell me, what are you looking for here, Connor? Because I remember it like it was yesterday. I really do. I mean, I was there. I think if you've heard about it, then surely you know what happened. It's no secret. Scott Diamond, the godfather of professional wrestling, the Albert Anastasia of professional wrestling. You know, the Diamond Cartel is to professional wrestling what Murder Inc. was to the mob. He doesn't always play by the rules. He sometimes is known to march to the beat of his own drum. Scott Diamond gets business done at any means necessary. That's exactly what I mean when I tell you that I come from a lineage of warriors. He knows what it's mean to be cold-blooded. He told Joe, hey, if you shake my hand, I'll put an end to it. And Joe thought for just a second that he had done the unthinkable. Joe had thought for just a second he had done what nobody else was able to do. And I still see what he's doing. He's trying to drive a wedge between my father and I. But it'll never happen. You see, I'm his right-hand man, the ride or die. I am his A1 day one, baby. I am Alpha Delta to his Sierra Delta. There will never be a duo stronger than he and I. We are the gruesome twosome, the deadly alliance. We are the baddest men to ever walk the face of this earth today. You know, some people call us a gang. Some people call us a militia. Well, let me tell you what we are. We are the boldest, coldest, foretoldest legends to ever walk the land. And it's because he was always willing to do whatever it takes. He was always one step ahead, and that night was no different. He shook Joe Monroe's hand as promised. To no surprise, Joe Monroe has a loose grip. And it was soon after that. I don't know, man. I guess there was maybe there was a Twinkie on the ground, and Joe just felt the need to dive for it. You know, soon after that, he was gasping for air. I think I heard that he had a broken finger. And, you know, for some reason, whatever that reason may be, his wife has allowed him internet access during the healing process. And he's been airing out all of his dirty laundry. He's been very bold about his sour grapes. His disdain for the Diamond name, his respect even for my father has gone out the window. And he's going to grow very remorseful for his actions in the near future.
See, now, it's funny that you bring up Joe Monroe because I've been watching the chat. And speaking of Joe Monroe, he's just commented this. My poor pops, I warned you all, but you didn't listen. Now, are you man enough to face me one-on-one, or do you need dear old dad and his goons to do the job for you? Your response, please, Mr. Diamond.
Goons, you say. Well, let's talk about those goons, shall we? Frank the Tank stands at about 6'3" and 500 pounds of evil, mean, and nasty. Scott Diamond and I, a little more lean, a little more clean, and a little more classy. Joe Monroe, I will double your net worth. So, I don't know, I guess about $200. I'll put it on the table so you can buy some new wheels for your house, brother. All you have to do is stand face to, okay, well, maybe not face to face. I guess a little more apt would be face to chest with Frank the Tank and call him a goon. Brother, he would kill you. He's already embarrassed you a few times now. Let's put it where it's at, man. That's not what you want to do, Joe. Let's go ahead and reel it in. Let's slow your roll, calm your horses, do whatever it is that you've got to do, Joe. But that's not it. I assure you, that is not it. That is a bad, bad choice. Frank the Tank has been hurting people, putting them in the hospital long before you were ever crawling around on the floor, you know, learning to spell, you know, a few years ago. Now, Joe Monroe, let's dive a little further into your incessant need to dog my name. Joe, you started shortly before I did as far as being an active competitor, but you fizzled out because you didn't have what it takes to be somebody like me. Joe, you have no right to talk about me because, truthfully, I did your career in a weekend. What to you was the ride of a lifetime was a Tuesday for me. You have no room to speak on anything. Who are you? What is a Joe Monroe? The matriarch of the Monroe family, except for you fight no battles. You know, your loudmouth old lady does most of the barking for you. So what is there for you to do, Joe? Cook your frozen beef? You're pathetic. You know what? I'm scared of no man. No man. Austin Diamond is undefeated for good reason. Not one time has another man been able to professionally best me, because there's nobody better than me, and there never, ever, ever will be. Austin Diamond is the man. But to call me a myth would be a stretch, because, again, I am as real as it gets. I am right here. I am a tangible good, and I am as good as it gets. Joe, I will face you here, there, or anywhere else. I will go down, and I will take the blocks out from under your house and let it roll down the hill if that's what I have to do. I got your attention, not the other way around. It is not you who has me, but rather I who has you. Joe, I don't care if I will gather up your own incestuous family and have them turn on you too, brother. I'll get those little children of yours, or maybe they're your nieces or your nephews, probably both. Let's not kid ourselves here. I will line up the entire Monroe family. I will dig them up, prop them up against the wall, and make them watch as I embarrass you. Joe Monroe, what are you? TKO Monroe, technical knockout. What are you knocking out? Slider after slider? You're knocking out doctors because they're telling you got to go on a diet? What exactly are you knocking out, big man? You are nothing and nobody. You know what? They say Monroes live forever. Your grandfather would beg to differ. But I guess we shouldn't talk about that.
Now, Austin, let's try and keep it a little bit PG.
Oh, we want to keep it PG.
Let's try and keep it a little bit PG. Remember, this is Mayhem's stream. You've got to keep it within the Mayhem guidelines. We can't be talking about people's family in that way. Now,
I understand. I apologize.
You're all good. You're all good. I didn't give you the brief before we did this. You're all good. So, just while you're talking about there is no man that is worthy to challenge Austin Diamond, do you or do you not accept Joe Monroe's challenge for a match?
Define challenge for me, Connor. I understand that you live in a different part of the world. I understand that in different parts of the world, a dialect will take one word, one term, and it'll mean something just a little different. So please, for me, break down what a challenge is, because I don't think we're on the same page.
So to put it in terms that we can both understand, Joe Monroe has called you out for a one-on-one without any help from members of the Diamond Cartel. Do you accept, or have you a thought of, do you want a one-on-one? Do you accept a one-on-one invitational offer against Joe Monroe?
Do I accept Joe Monroe's challenge? Do I accept his proposal for a meeting of the minds? Do I accept what he brings to the table? You know, it would be rich if I just said all of this was for nothing and then denied his offer. But little did he know, this is what I've been after all along. You see, I wasn't done when I brought up his very deceased grandfather. Oh, no. See, I was willing to show up to his child's elementary school and beat them up, too. I was going to do whatever it takes to prove that I am better than Joe Monroe and his entire family. And as a matter of fact, here's something that I've got that I can hold over his wife's head, too. One of us graduated. Oh, that's a good one. You see, Joe, education will take you far in this world. So here's what I recommend to you. Before I catch you in Hillbilly Village, I recommend you go down, and if you, brother, let me tell you, if you can find a book, I want you to crack it open. I want you to search far and wide for anybody in your neck of the woods who is literate. And I want you to start reading that book. I want you to do anything in your power to educate yourself, Joe. Because if you don't, I will. I'm going to knock some sense into you, Joe. I don't care where it is. I don't care if I've got to go back to Indiana, Ohio, the Virginias, the Carolinas, Atlanta, Georgia. Let me tell you, I will burn you up like Sherman going through Savannah, Georgia. I will do it anywhere and everywhere, brother. I will drag you from your house back to mine, have a little cookout, and take you right back home and stomp you in your own bedroom. I'm telling you, Joe, you say you found somebody crazy enough to put you in the ring. Well, you know what? I'm sure you did find somebody pretty crazy because, Joe, you are a liability. You are going to be an insurance claim, and it's going to be nobody's fault but your own. Challenge accepted, Joe. I'll see you soon, buddy.
So you have now completely accepted Mr. Monroe's challenge. So now that you've accepted his challenge for whatever this contest may become, maybe you
Rephrase
could
that.
give...
No, I'm going to cut you off right there. Rephrase that. It will be no contest, I assure you.
So you don't want to call it a contest. Joe may call it a contest. He may not. Let's not split hairs about the correct terminology here.
A contest implies competition, Connor. Unless he's bringing some competition with him, this will be no contest.
Only time may tell, but let's not get so bogged down in the details of the correct phrases to use. Now, you have just accepted what you do not want to call as a challenge by Joe Monroe, but for the benefit of this episode, we're going to call it a challenge just so the viewers can understand a little bit further. Now, based on the viewers understanding a little bit further, can you please explain what ignited this rivalry between yourself and Mr. Monroe that is leading up to this meeting of the minds?
The same thing that ignited all of this is the same thing that's going to get him hurt now. Joe Monroe cannot keep his mouth shut. There I sat on a podcast much like this one. I was doing what I do best. I was telling the people that I am God's gift to man, because I am. There I was telling the people that I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I am. And Joe Monroe had to chime in. He had to try and make it about himself because he's not capable of making his own bones. Joe Monroe tried to steal some of my limelight, and I didn't appreciate it, so I shut him down with a quickness. I said, brother, you had better worry less about me and more about that cholesterol level, because if it gets any higher, Daddy, you ain't going to have to worry about me anymore. Joe Monroe took that personally, as I'm sure any man would. And Joe Monroe did the unthinkable. He did the most unreasonable thing that it is he could have done. He performed one of the intolerable acts. You see, he rose to the occasion. He tried to stand with Austin Diamond. He tried to pose a threat to somebody who was just too much man for him. Joe Monroe, you made the mistake of a lifetime. You grabbed me, and seconds later, you were on the floor counting stars. We went months without hearing from you. You tucked tail between your legs. You ran and hid. And it's the smartest thing that you ever did. And for some reason, you let me get under your skin, and it cost you. Because now here you are. And there's going to come a time in the near future where Joe's two children are going to have no choice but to look at their ugly mother. And they're going to have to ask her, Mommy, what happened to TKO Monroe? What happened to the Knockout King? What happened to Joe Monroe? Mommy, what happened to Daddy? And she's going to have to look down at them, and she's going to have to put down the phone. And I'm going to say, baby, take your time. And she's going to tell them, Austin Diamond is what happened to Joe Monroe. The Diamond Cartel is what happened to Joe Monroe. He's going to have to know that there will come a time where his wife looks at her two children and says, Joe Monroe bit off more than he could chew. And when he got to the grandest stage of them all, he choked. And that's all there is.
So, I've got a couple of questions for you.
Shoot.
If you'll indulge me for a few minutes of your time. I know for you, time is money and you make your own time. As do I. So, when you meet Joe in the battle of the minds, or lack thereof, maybe.
There you go. You're getting it.
See, I may be British, but I understand slowly. When you finally get, as we want to say, even with Joe, is part of that coming through the fact of you want to seek revenge because he launched an attack on your father, Scott Diamond?
You know, Connor, that's not something that I was really looking to address here today. But since you brought it up, I think we can dive into that for a quick second. Joe has a bad habit of showing up in places that he shouldn't be. Joe Monroe showed up to my podcast when he was not welcome there, not once but twice. Joe Monroe has a bad habit of making things about himself that are not about himself. That's how he clings on to relevancy. That's grasping at straws. Joe Monroe showed up in August of 2023. He wrapped his grubby little sausage fingers around my blazer. And he did something that nobody else had ever done. He laid hands on the golden child as I stood surrounded by my brothers, my uncle and my father. And I don't mean that in the way that Joe has brothers in the form of an uncle and a father. Very different, very different. You see, his family tree is a wreath. I don't fly that way. But Joe then proceeded to lay hands on my father in recent memory. And it's no secret that I don't appreciate that. But it's quite all right. You see, it's not the first time that Mr. Diamond has been on the receiving end of some less than favorable occurrences. Scott Diamond was ducking bullets for breakfast when he was my age. Scott Diamond signed up to be a warrior for the United States Marines when he was my age. And from the years 1982 through 1989, he was a bad, bad man. You know, he was just a little older than I. October 23rd, 1983, when they told him that he was going to Beirut. And from that day, a monster was born that could never be stowed away. Joe Monroe may think that he has the upper hand in more than one way, but he's got to step back and look at the bigger picture. Joe Monroe has no idea what it is that he's really gotten himself into, as I had just told you, Connor. Joe Monroe will reap what he sows. He will pay for his sins because, you see, I already told you, I've been known as a loose cannon. I have been known as a godless heathen. I have been known as many of bad things. And if that's the reputation that I'm stuck with, then let me show you just how bad I can really be. Joe Monroe, let me tell you, brother, it doesn't matter where it is. You name the time, you name the place. It doesn't have to be a ring in sight. I will drag you all over this globe, brother. And I'm telling you, I'm not coming for a win or a loss because this is bigger than that. Austin Diamond is undefeated. Not for a second do I think that you have what it takes to beat me. But Joe, I'm coming to hurt you. That's my goal. That's my objective. That's my mission. I am going to hurt you. And that's all there is to it.
So, you're going to hurt him. Do you think that because he attacked Scott, that was his way of trying to get at you because he feels that you have pushed him to this point where there is no turning back? You have pushed him too far.
That's exactly what it is. You know, I pushed Joe Monroe out of the business because there's no place for him in my business. This is Austin Diamond's business, and that's all there is to it. Again, I told you I'm the best. I am the best that there has ever been. It's that simple. I am undefeated, Connor. Do you understand me? I am undefeated, not only in a win-loss record. When it comes to pulling views on shows, Austin Diamond's the top of that list too. When it comes to feats at a young age, Austin Diamond's the top of that list too. When it comes to people on the horizon who are going to be all over the world in no time, Austin Diamond's the top of that list too. It doesn't matter what list you're looking at because I'm the top of it. You can skip all the semantics because Austin Diamond is the creme de la creme. It gets no better than this. Joe Monroe got pushed over the edge. And you know what? I can commend that. He's doing what he thinks is necessary. He is, in his eyes, a reasonable man who has been pushed to do unreasonable things. And that was by design. I wanted him to lose control of himself because I wanted my opportunity to prove myself. He's robbed me of that. And that's really what all of this started over. Had he not tucked tail between his legs, had he not conveniently found an injury that hindered his wrestling career, if I could call it that, then you know what? He and I would probably have no issue today. Because I'd have already put the boots to him again, got the 1, 2, 3, my hand held high, as always, and that would have been the end of it. But he just couldn't do it that way. That's how men handle differences. But that's not how Joe handles differences. And that's exactly why I did what I did. I didn't want to talk about the fact that his good-for-nothing, incestuous family is a bunch of good-for-nothing, illiterate hillbillies. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to bring his kids into it. I didn't want to have to say that his old lady is a good-for-nothing hick in her own right. I didn't want to say that his grandfather was better off dead, despite how true it is. But that's what I felt I had to do to pull him up out of the basement once more. That's what I felt I had to do in order to get Joe Monroe to play ball. And quite apparently, it's worked.
So everything you've done is because of what Joe done. Now, just before unfortunately, we are getting to that point where we run out of time, obviously, because we are running out of time. Me, myself, personally, I would love to have you on for a sequel, a part 2 of this perfect episode, if you will. But just before we do close out, do you have one final statement you would like to give the viewers before we have to, unfortunately, close out?
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I might not say it enough. But the truth is, I love each and every one of you to some degree, including those of you who are wishing death on me day and night. I take pride and solace in the fact that each and every one of you, for the most part, hate me. I take pride and solace in the fact that you people are envious of me because I have accomplished so much in such a short time period. Because, you see, indifference does not draw strong opinions. Had I made no difference, nobody would care. But the fact is, I have made a difference. I have made an impact. And that's exactly why so many people feel so strongly. Thank each and every one of you for the role that you have played in my life, good, bad, or indifferent. For those of you who have purchased 8x10s, purchased my t-shirts, for those of you who ask me for pictures, thank you very much. I love you. You are very special to me. For those of you who are less than fond of Austin Diamond, that's quite all right. Because you don't have to like me. You don't have to love me. But the fact of the matter is, you will respect me. Because I'm here to stay. I'm going to be here for a long time. I am the king of this mountain, and there's nobody that can overtake this mountain. This has belonged to my family for a long time. And I'm not going to be the one that drops the ball. Joe Monroe, I know you're watching this, fat boy. I know I've hurt your pride. I know I've hurt your ego. I know I've hurt your feelings. And I'm glad. That was the idea. That was the goal. Now, Joe Monroe, I'm going to hurt so much more than that in the near future. Brother, you know, I can't lie to you. I don't blame you for what you've done. I understand it. I don't respect it. Maybe a little bit. But I just, it's not personal, you see. It's just business. Joe, brother, wherever you're watching this, I want you to know, I will see you before you see me. And I look forward to it.
Well, it's definitely been a pleasure having you on, Mr. Diamond. Obviously, the boss, myself, and the team will converse with you further at a later date about having you on for a second episode. But I thank you for your time and wish you well for now.
The pleasure's all yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diamond. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is the one and only Connor Clarkson, and I have been your host for episode 38 of Mayhemtainment this evening. As always, goodbye, good night, stay safe, God bless, and we will see you in the next one. Hope you take care.